The other thing that is really, I think, unique about these dramedies, and this is something that applies to well-done family dramas. There are family dramas like The Godfather or Dangerous Liaisons that don't bring comedy in. There's not a lot of laugh riots in The Godfather. But when you're dealing in the kind of family drama, you have a different relationship with your audience. And that different relationship is that dramedies are meant to provoke the audience's response. This is something that comes from family drama and also applies to dramedies, that it's almost like with dramedies there's a conversation going on between the audience and the characters on the screen or the characters in the book. And you go into some movie theaters and people literally are talking out loud about this. So, for example, I was watching a BBC series of Pride and Prejudice, which isn't a dramedy, but it's family drama kind of at its best. And you have these characters that come in that are kind of broad characters. And, you know, very specifically, I can actually use a dramedy example of Sense and Sensibility, because Sense and Sensibility by Ang Lee, the screenplay was by Emma Thompson. This is a family drama that also brings in humor. So in these kind of stories, they're meant to provoke the audience, and one way the audience can get provoked is when you introduce a character that seems to be a stereotype. So if you've seen Sense and Sensibility, you know, it's a story of two sisters. The father has died in the family. They don't know how they're going to be able to support themselves, certainly not at the level that they were living as aristocrats. And they both have different attitudes about romance. And there's the younger sister is completely into kind of romantic infatuation of poetry, and this is the way love really needs to be. And there's one scene where she's kind of out with her younger sister going through the fields, running and having a great time. And it suddenly starts raining and pouring. And the sister's running, and she kind of trips and falls, and she hurts her ankle. Now she's going to, you know, die of exposure out there, and there's no possible way she's going to get through it. And just as that happens on the screen, you see off in the distance is like the world's biggest horse. There's this massive horse with this rider on top of the horse that comes kind of sweeping in, and she's like the damsel in distress kind of laying there. And this guy comes in, and he's like perfect looking. He has perfect hair, perfect face, perfect body. He kind of jumps off of his horse, sweeps her up into his arms, and kind of takes her in, and he's going to rescue her and take her home. And as soon as I saw that, I just went, do not trust this guy. You cannot, don't even think about being together with this guy. It's never going to work. And then the next day she's recovering, and the next door neighbor, this kind of older single guy who's looking for a wife, kind of comes in with some grubby looking flowers and hands them to her, and you can see there's no energy. And then Willoughby comes in, you know, looking perfect, and he's got a perfect bouquet of flowers, and he just happens to have a book of Shakespearean sonnets that are her favorites. So when you're watching something like this, maybe, I'm sure it's different, a woman watching than a man watching. It's just kind of like, it's provocative. I'm watching this and I'm just going, don't fall for this moron. You know, you're just going to get trashed by this guy. It's so obvious. And that's exactly what dramedies want the audience to do. They want the audience to be provoked and have it. And sometimes at a great drama, you'll see people will just yell things out. You know, they'll just say, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't go with that guy. Don't go with that woman. And that's the whole idea. It's a different relationship with the audience. And so in dramedies, initially when you meet a character, there may appear to be a stereotype, and then the audience projects a judgment on them. And the real delight comes when that projection turns out not to be who they really are. And we can see this in As Good as It Gets, you know, the Jack Nicholson character Melvin. He's the most despicable man in the world. But as he is impacted by his neighbor Simon and the waitress Carol, gradually you see him starting to change. And so the audience's projections on him start to change. And at a certain point, you start to really hope that he is capable of changing. So these dramedies can be really heart-wrenching stories, but also have this kind of warmth and compassionate comedy that comes through.